Hi, everybody. Douglas V. Gibbs here. Daily Dose, Mr. Constitution. And we've been seeing a lot of scenes in the news and on YouTube and different videos of parents at school board meetings being up in arms, them calling out the school board and the school board trying to silence them. What's going on here? Why is our education system so out of whack? Now, we have to ask ourselves, too, what does the Constitution say or don't say about education? What did the Founding Fathers say about, well, education? So, first of all, let's understand that education was very important to the framers of the United States Constitution. In fact, we have a number of quotes I would like to give you first about the Founding Fathers about education. So James Madison said that a well-instructed people alone can be permanently a free people. George Washington said a primary object should be the education of our youth in the science of government. In a republic, what species of knowledge can be equally important, and what duty more pressing than communicating it to those who are to be the future guardians of the liberties of the country? Thomas Jefferson, I know of no safe depositor of the ultimate powers of a society but the people themselves, and we think them not enlightened enough to exercise their control over a wholesome discretion. The remedy is not to take it from them, but to inform their discretion by education. And this is the true corrective of abuses of constitutional power. And finally, another one by Thomas Jefferson. Say whether peace is best preserved by giving energy to the government or information to the people. This last is the most certain and the most legitimate engine of government. Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. Enable them to see that it is their interest to preserve peace and order, and they will preserve them. And it requires no very high degree of education to convince them to this or of this. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty. So an educated people is necessary in order for the Constitution to even be carried out, in order for liberty to carry on. Now, Thomas Jefferson and the other founders, but Jefferson was probably the most outspoken about it, believed that a public education system was important and that the states should fund it or at least help with the funding. The communities would also be in charge of it, and the parents would be in charge of the curriculum and the hiring of the teachers. There is nothing in the Constitution that gives the federal government the authority to fund education. Federal money and federal say is not supposed to be involved in education whatsoever. Now, the way it originally was is in a community. The cities were a little different, but in a community, you had your little red schoolhouse, and the parents hired the teacher. The teacher would actually come from the cities after going to school and apply for the job of being a teacher, and it was the community, the parents, that were hiring the teacher. And what happened in America with the little red schoolhouses and the communities controlling education was that we became among the most educated in the world. We had among the highest scores and level of knowledge in the rest of the world. Our education system soared when it was locally controlled. Now, as time passed, and those things changed. And what I mean by that is this. In 1899, Dewey became head of national education. Dewey had been prior to that president of the Psychology Association. See, psychology education. Oh, we already see a problem. So, and it went from the textbook being the Holy Bible, and then of course there was Noah Webster's Readers, and later on in 1828 he created a dictionary, partly for the schools, to a more modernized education system. And then the federal government started getting involved. And before you knew it, you had a Board of Education, or I'm sorry, Department of Education in 1970, or 78 or something like that. 79, I want to say. I'm not sure the exact year. It's late 70s. The more recent Board of Education or Department of Education of the federal government was created. There was one prior, then it was stopped, and then it got restarted. And since we've had federal influence on the education system, our education of our students has gone into the tank. Our place in the world has gone from among the top to the bottom. And now what we have is an education system that's funded by the federal government rather than locally. The curriculum, whether they admit it or not, is being dictated by the federal government and the hard left liberals at the state level rather than the community and the parents. And the curriculum includes unacceptable sex education, critical race theory. It's an indoctrination. It's 70 to 80% indoctrination, maybe 20 to 30% education. Critical thinking is no longer involved. So what do? I was in a discussion last night, Doug, they've taken this over, they've taken that over, they've taken the education system over. Then you create your own education system. Homeschooling, private schools, an alternative public school that's locally and community based. I guarantee you, with voucher systems, school choice systems, and then alternative educational opportunities, such as community-based public schools or private schools and homeschooling, you'll see a turnaround in education. Now, that said, we're up against an enemy that understands that the indoctrination of the children is a part of what got them where they are. And they will fight it tooth and nail. They're already attacking homeschooling and private schools and charter schools. And so we need to be on top of this. I am proud of the parents that have been going to these meetings, have been standing firm saying, hey, I don't want my child taught this. You're not going to censor what I have to say. You're not going to take out of the video of this meeting what I had to say. Anybody suggesting that type of censorship should be fired. Anybody who is in the educational system that's pushing critical race theory and this ridiculous sex ed stuff should be fired. And the federal government, any federal funds that's involved in education should be stopped immediately. State funds should be limited. And parents, now that they're getting involved, let's create community-based educational systems. Let's go back to the way it originally was. That said, I have taught government to homeschool kids and economics, but primarily government. And when I went to start teaching the government a few years ago, I realized that there was no good materials out there, that all of it was indoctrination materials. So I wrote my own textbook. If you're interested, check out douglasvgibbs.com/books. The name of the book is A Promise of American Freedom. I'm working on one for economics right now because aside from maybe Thomas Sowell's Basic Economics and a few others, there's really nothing out there for economics either. But let's take it back by taking it back. Let's get involved. Let's be at the school board meetings. Let's challenge them. Let's demand the change locally. It all starts locally. Let's get the federal government funding out of our education system, and let's create alternative systems. And like I said, we already have private school, public school. Let's go. Let's chase after these school choice voucher systems where parents can use their tax dollars towards putting their child in a private school or something like that instead. Let's create that competition. Once there's a competition, the parents can put their children in schools that they want. The public schools are going to either have to shape up or end because there's no students. And of course, like I said, let's see if we can start community-based public school systems where the parents approve the curriculum and the parents of the community hire the teachers. That's what we need to be doing. That's what we need to go back to. We do that, and as we did before with the little red schoolhouses, we will soar to the top of education in the world once again. Thanks for watching. United we stand, combined we kick butt. God bless America. And my friends, God bless you. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.